Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, welcome to yet another quarantined edition of Lynn Cullen Live. I think you can tell from my voice I'm feeling better today. It's April 14th, and it's a Tuesday, and that means my sister Susan should be on the line as well. Hi, Suze.
Hey.
Now, we have to remind everybody that last Tuesday Susan was on the line, and we had to talk her off a cliff. She was screaming. You were
Was it election day last Tuesday?
Yeah. You were beside yourself. You were like the decibel level of your voice, and That's
how I get when people try and steal from me, especially when the elected representatives of my home state try to steal. That's how I get, but that's not how I am today, dear sister. Do you want to know why?
Oh, I think we all do, but go ahead.
Well, let him in, Mother. Mother's telling me that the dog wants to come in. What happened is that the election results trickled in last night, and Jill Karofsky, who was running for the Supreme Court of Wisconsin against a man that just on the basis of his commercials I loathed, and
he was the incumbent. He was the incumbent justice of
Trump
the Supreme Court.
And the Republicans were trying to make sure that he kept his state so they could continue to rig our elections and have the Wisconsin Supreme Court rubber stamp it.
Right.
And the citizens of the good state of Wisconsin began to notice something was amiss. And then, as I told you last week, and as all the newspapers have reported, the Wisconsin Republicans tried to rig as obviously as they knew how to vote. They closed all the polling places, and they held an election during a pandemic. So between the just two cities, Milwaukee and Green Bay, where there would ordinarily be 217 polling places, between those two cities, there were 7 polling places, 2 in Green Bay, 5 in Milwaukee.
And we saw the pictures of people standing in long, long lines, by the way, in the rain during the pandemic, waiting sometimes for 2-3 hours to cast their vote because the U.S. Supreme Court, which, by the way,
with the Wisconsin Supreme Court,
forced the issue, as did the state Supreme Court. By the way, also, it is now known that all the justices of the Wisconsin Supreme Court voted absentee ballot. They did not risk their lives to go out and vote. They just told the residents of Wisconsin that you have to risk your lives to go out and vote. The remarkable thing is
that a million people voted absentee, almost the same number, I'm going to cough, almost the same number as voted in person, and the good Jill Karofsky actually beat him by 100,000 votes.
Yeah. Here's the problem. What's funny about all of this is, of course,
now the Republicans are going to contest the election.
Well, now, yeah. The Democrats were obviously intending to contest the results of this election. Now, of course, they're not. However, you can bet the Republicans will. This thing is but they
let the Republicans contest
because they created the conditions.
They created the problem, so they can't contest. You can't say I made everybody vote under impossible conditions. You all agreed with me. Now we lost, so we're contesting.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Even those two courts couldn't do that.
Here's the good news. This certainly shows in the very important battleground state of Wisconsin that Trump's in trouble.
We are very motivated. We are extraordinarily motivated. We showed you can't do that. You won't stop it. Bye-bye, Mr. Trump. I woke up so happy this morning. This is the first time I have felt any sense that, it's going to be okay. I'm not the only one standing out here. You and me aren't the only ones. You, me, and our listeners aren't the only ones. The vast majority of the country is just waiting to throw this bum out. And after yesterday, did you happen to see him yesterday?
I had the misfortune of actually tuning in at 6 o'clock, thinking I'd get my dose of regular news. I think not local. I was checking in on CNN, and there he was, the horror. And I looked over at MSNBC, and there he was, the horror. And the amazing thing is do you know that supposed coronavirus conference that he does, that one yesterday lasted longer than 2 hours with him just ranting, raving, spreading crap, showing propaganda videos. That, first of all, I have to say that these news outlets continue to show this is absolutely beyond belief.
Well, most of them are cutting away. I mean,
I
think when
they are cutting away.
Well, they are. They are locally here.
They are not. See, but the cable is not. They're showing it nonstop. CNN cut away at one point during the the propaganda video, but then went right back. And this is, of course, where the president so now famously said, "The President of the United States calls the shots. The governors can't do anything without the approval of the President of the United States. The authority of the President of the United States is total."
Well, and here's the amusing thing. So if you go into comment sections on your whatever you read now, and you know that the right has argued for years states' rights, right? I mean, that's their thing. That's the Civil War. That's states' rights. The states have the rights. All things not specifically granted to the federal government belong to the states. Okay, so that's been their thing all along. Now Trump comes along, throws that out, says, oh, no, the states have no power. What the president says goes. Now you're listening to all of these apologists who have been arguing up and down for years states' rights, and they're being forced to argue the other thing because they're in this cult.
Well, the whole thing, it was frightening to watch. The one positive I saw in looking at that horror show yesterday was two reporters that I happened to see. Maybe there were others. They were both women. One was from CBS. The other was from CNN. And, man, they just kept coming at him. One of them flat out said, "That is not true, Mr. President." The other just kept coming and coming until he, red in the face, is saying, "You're fake news. You're fake news. You're a disgrace." And they don't flinch. They just keep coming.
Don't you?
He was asked what
women?
What provision of the Constitution? What provision of the Constitution gives you the power to override governors if they want their states to remain closed? Our leaders answer: numerous provisions. There are none. There are none. He has
specifically the other way, unless specifically granted to the federal government, all powers belong to the states.
And what's so bizarre is here's a guy who, during the same clown show, was saying that the governors are the ones who've dropped the ball. They had the responsibility to do this, to do that. And then he turns around and says, they don't have authority. I have authority.
Right.
Well, you can't have it both ways. He contradicts himself almost in mid-sentence.
Well, that's what happens when you're making stuff up. When your whole life is a lie.
Yeah. It was frightening. Also, I want to say that Dr. Fauci did not do well. He looks like he's starting to, cave, and said something, made it sound that the president had taken action on social distancing immediately, trying to because there is concern that the president's going to fire him. And so to keep from being fired, Fauci's now looking a little like Weasley too. And I'm thinking, who cares?
Fired.
Get fired. Get fired. What difference does it make?
Get fired.
God damn
Go with integrity. Get fired. Everybody's going to get fired. The more, the heads are going to roll. The worse this gets, the more heads are going to roll. You know that. That's how Trump is, because it's everybody's fault but his. So heads are going to roll. But
what we're going to be left with is, and you can see these rolled out now. Who's these task forces, committees he's putting together that are supposed to figure out how to get our country back moving again. And I'm looking at the pictures that popped up on Fox News, and to get our country back together, he has a woman who has failing a purse business. That would be Ivanka. He has that woman's husband, the slumlord and Botoxed idiot,
and creator
Jared
of
Kushner.
Peace in the Middle East.
Yes, and creator of peace in the Middle East. He has a Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, who famously said in February, I believe, that the coronavirus is going to be good for the U.S. economy.
Yes, well. Also,
These are the people now. These are the people now who are going to decide how to get us back up and moving. Unbelievable.
And you notice, not one health expert.
No, nothing having to do with health, because they don't.
And here's what I think is interesting, because I think professionally one of the biggest pro-Trump professions was medicine. I knew an awful lot of doctors that were, they're Republicans. They voted for Trump. I can't believe that there is a doctor in the world that would vote for that man today. And if there is, don't go to that doctor. Yeah.
I want to mention that the other big news of yesterday, and big news, normally big news doesn't even register, is, of course, that Bernie Sanders is not going to do what he did 4 years ago. He gave a warm and seemingly sincere endorsement of the obvious Democratic nominee, Joe Biden, and flat out said, we need you in the White House. And I want to point out that people as lefty and as socialistic as Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Cornel West, Noam Chomsky, for God's sake, have all said, you gotta vote for Joe Biden.
Yep.
So what is so wonderful about this is what is it? It's April. It's April, and the Democrats are unified.
We are unified, and we are. And Wisconsin motivates us.
Yeah, and the base is fired up. So, guys, that's all good news. We have a caller. Caller, go ahead, please. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi.
There's a little bit of a lag. I'm sorry if I didn't say hello.
Sure.
Hey, I made it a point not to watch his debriefings.
Yes.
Because it assaults the senses.
I know, me too.
It's just,
we agreed.
I screwed up
yesterday.
If anybody's got any sensitivity to him, it's like, are you? And the fact that he's president makes it worse. And the fact that, one of the things I say is, like, out of all the terrible things he is doing, as president, is that the worst thing is children, teenagers, especially young men, young boys, see this and our president behaving this way, and they're like, why not me? I can do it too. He's an asshole. I can be an asshole. That's the new norm, right? And I really do think that ultimately could be the worst thing, and parents have got to, like, nip this shit in the bud. But
I saw a picture. I want to say I saw a picture a few days ago of a boy of about 6 years old, and he's riding high on his dad's shoulders, and he's holding a sign, and it says, "My father does not allow me to act like the President of the United States."
Good. That is the type of leadership we need. What that dad is doing.
Yeah,
that's what we need. At first I hated these debriefings, and I think it was Connor Lamb who said yesterday, this idiot and he takes this team of so-called experts. Every day they spend 2 hours in front of the damn camera. He says, if they spent that time actually working on the problem, maybe it would help.
Exactly.
But they're just busy just wasting time. I mean, can you imagine if Obama was doing this shit?
Oh, man. No,
How different that would be?
Yeah, right. If this president is doing nothing except trying to cover his ass. That is all the energy of that White House in the executive branch is, covering his fat ass.
Yeah, I was going to say his increasingly large ass.
Well,
do you think as ridiculous?
I'm sorry?
Do you think as ridiculous as the debriefings are, that ultimately it's going to be, people are finally like, okay, I'm done. And it's going to help Biden and the Democrats.
Yes.
And it's just like, I think, like, he's his own worst enemy.
Well, the Wall Street Journal editorialized last week, and it freaked him out. And he called them fake news, the Wall Street Journal, because they said, stop it. Stop doing these things. They're too long. They're too boring. They're about you. And people don't want it to be about
you are.
That's right. So the Wall Street Journal editorially tried to say, hey, cut it out. You're killing us. You're killing us. And he just, of course, went ballistic because he cannot tolerate criticism, and he cannot tolerate not being the center of attention, which is why initially, remember, the vice president was doing these things because the president did not want to be associated with this awful thing that was tanking the economy. Then he saw that Pence was getting all the attention and getting some pretty good reviews. Pence disappears, and now we're left with this clown show.
Chris Wallace. He went after Chris Wallace.
He's after Fox News now. He's after he's got, his circle of people that he will allow near him is constricting and constricting and constricting. And
maybe pretty soon he's just going to pop like a rancid zit.
What a repulsion. So then.
Well, sorry, you want me to come up with a pretty picture for that guy?
Yeah, okay, all right. Hey, caller, thank you so much. Great call.
Quick question though. Do you think that if this keeps going, and then like in fall, if this thing rears its ugly head again, the COVID-19, it's going to give him the perfect opportunity to declare a state of emergency and cancel all elections?
Yeah.
He'll try. They'll try.
Well, he's also trying to bankrupt the postal service, so you can't have a
mail-in election.
Mail. He'll do. They will do. Listen, if there's one thing Republicans are extraordinarily adept at, it is keeping people from voting. And so, yeah, we cannot for a minute not think that they won't try something extraordinary. Right. So
I think the governor of Virginia's got the right idea.
Yes.
I think more
yes.
follow his lead.
Right. Make it a holiday, and everybody go vote. Hey, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Bye. We have another
Bye.
call. Caller. Hello.
Good morning, Lynn. Good morning,
Hi.
Susan.
Hi.
I just wanted to mention to you, I have CNN on mute, and they just said that President Obama is going to endorse Joe Biden today.
Yay. Well, of course
shock.
he is. Yeah.
I'm stunned. Well, thank
but
you.
everybody's been waiting to hear from our erstwhile leader.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for the
Dr.
breaking news.
Our wonderful president refers to him as Dr. Tony. When I did watch it yesterday, portions of it, and to me, he sounded like a hostage victim.
I thought so too.
I think he is drinking the Kool-Aid now, along with her.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And really, one of my friends said this, and I believe it is so true. He's 79. He could walk away. Why doesn't he just walk away, be a regular citizen?
Because he's a true civil servant, you know?
But he's not serving correctly.
Well, listen, in that clown show, he's the one who's not the clown. I don't know. I'm sure he feels that if he weren't there, there'd be nobody who has any ability to talk to this guy. I don't know. But you're right. I think you spend too much time in that White House, and your brain turns to mush, and you start goose stepping. I don't know what it just happens.
I don't understand it, and they're just sitting there looking at him, and it's just so disturbing. And I took your advice, and I try not to watch it, but I don't normally listen to local news, but I want to see how many people have the virus and so forth. And you switch over, and he's still talking. He's still up there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. You're looking at an addict getting his fix.
That's true.
That's what you're looking at, and it ain't pretty. It's not pretty.
I just have to say you sound a lot better today.
Yes, thank you.
I'm feeling better.
I am.
I look forward every day. My iPad you're right there, and I love
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being there.
Oh, thank you. Goodbye.
I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye. I appreciate you. Russ says, hi to Susan. Love you guys together. Isn't it amazing when there is a Democratic president, the right screams states' rights? He does say, now that a Republican is in, the states should not have rights.
Right.
Be safe and healthy. Margaret points out Trump is getting fatter. And little Tony says, Lynn, I stopped watching Trump's afternoon rallies brought to us by all the major news organizations some time ago. I get the highlights on my Twitter feed. That's what I normally do. I just so happened that
I just wait for the next
in
day.
Boredom yesterday, I actually turned it on, and I almost turned it off, but it's like I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, I came in at a time I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. You absolutely can't. Oh God, David writes, Rancid Zit. It's the perfect name for a punk rock band. Lance Boyle and the Rancid Zits.
Oh, who's my kindred spirit?
Well, that's David. That's David, and he is very grateful to you, Susan. Lance Boyle and the Rancid Zits. God. All right. Okay. Keith writes, one thing that's absolutely mind-blowing to me is that this miserable 73-year-old fat ass who has lived on a steady diet of hatred and fast food never once gets sick.
I know.
Right. Meanwhile, I watch these press conferences and get the sweats and a sore throat from repeatedly yelling, "Shut up! Shut the fuck up!"
It's what we call exercise in the days of the coronavirus.
Oh, my God.
Gets your heartbeat up, It's very good aerobic exercise.
Oh, gosh.
I suggest adding some punches as you do it. Just do a little shadow boxing at the same time. You can make it into a full workout.
Yeah, I do want to point out that. Wait. There, a woman near here who's 93 years old. Perhaps you've seen this. I think the Washington Post had a story on it yesterday. Well, she was out of beer, and
she posted a sign.
She put a sign in the window, saying, "I need beer," and it went viral. And damn, if she was holding her one of her last cans of Coors Light, and the Coors Light people sent her 12 cases. So she's doing okay now. Well, 93 years old, and she needs her beer. And the other alcohol news from these parts is that the governor of Ohio has shut down Ohio liquor stores to Pennsylvanians. Unbelievable.
Now what are you going to do?
Governor Mike DeWine ordered that liquor stores in the 6 Ohio counties that border Pennsylvania can only sell liquor to customers with Ohio IDs. And he said the stores are being overrun by desperate Pennsylvanians. What? Because for some reason, Pennsylvania is the only state that did this, that refuses to let people, and, in West Virginia, too, which borders us, they've stopped letting us buy because we were crossing the border. So we're just screwed, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Let them open up the liquor stores, for heaven's sakes.
Well, they won't. I don't know. And one of the
women. Why
can't
you call up and order it and have curbside delivery? What's the big
Susan, they did say that you can order online. I know of no one who's been able to pull that off. Anyway,
here's what you do. You, for example, would just contact a winery and order a case of wine. They will send you a case of wine.
I did that, and I'm looking at a big box at the other end of my living room, which arrived 2 days ago.
Oh, I think you can touch it now. Good for you.
Yeah, and it's got a bunch of wine in it. But this one woman who owns one of the liquor stores that's like 8 miles over the Pennsylvania border in Ohio, I mean, she obviously is miserable because she's been doing bang-up business. She said our usual delivery is 120 cases a week. We've had 800 cases over the last 2 weeks, and I still have empty shelves. And then she said, what is with Pennsylvania? You guys are losing a lot of money in Pennsylvania. Those are state stores. The state, at a time when it's desperately in need of money, closes what would be,
Well, wait a minute. When has the Pennsylvania legislature, bless their hearts, ever been a prime example of the way to do things? They spend all their time going to jail, as far as I could tell.
Well, a lot of them do. It's true, but there's so many of them. We've got like 7,000.
I know. That's why they don't care. That's the largest employer in the state now.
Yeah, right. Every other person in the state is a member of the state legislature, apparently. I have another story here that I want to. Why can't I get my mail up here? That I want to bring to you because it was just funny. It has nothing to do with any of this. Thank God. I'll get to the caller in just a minute, but I do have to share this story with people in case you didn't see it. This guy in France, don't know if you heard about it, 64 years old, and I think it was his birthday. Anyway, his friends that he worked with organized a surprise for him, in that they engineered that he would be able to fly in a fighter jet. And they take him to the airstrip. I don't know, and this happened in March, so I don't know how this managed to happen during all this shutdown. Once the man arrived at Saint-Dizier Air Base in northeastern France, no, this is from last year. In 2019, now that makes sense. He was told what was in store for him, and he got totally freaked out. He was wearing like an Apple Watch, which measured his heart rate, and his heart was in full tachycardia. Oh, my God. A recorded heart rate from 136 to 142 beats per minute. But he was, I guess, embarrassed, so he gets into the jet. And he's in the jet takes off, begins to climb, and he freaks. He panics and reaches up for something to hold on to. And unfortunately, the something was the ejector seat button. Right. And he went flying out of the jet. He had not securely attached his helmet. It went flying. He landed in a field near the German border.
Please, you left out the part where he had a parachute on.
Yeah, he did. Because I'm actually looking at a picture. There's a picture. Someone got a picture of the plane and of him, with a parachute. And, yeah, he only had minor facial injuries. So I just want to tell you, there is something so funny about that. First of all, people surprising people with what they think will be wonderful, gifts.
Yeah, you got to remember, it's not what you want, it's what they would want.
Right. This is a perfect example of why that's just not necessarily a good idea. Okay, I think we have a caller, but perhaps they've disappeared on us. Hello, caller.
Hi, good morning, girls.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I just want to make a comment about my life living with a total Trump supporter. And it is at times extremely stressful. There's a lot of silence because we can't even discuss current events. Because
wait a minute. Is this your husband?
Yes.
Oh, so but you've been living with him for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Why is it harder now? Why is it harder now?
Well, it's harder now because I know that come November, I know he will vote for Trump again.
Jesus.
Absolutely, without question or fail. And it even comes to a point of if we're discussing the current events and I should happen to point a finger at Trump and wrongdoing, he becomes so defensive. He becomes angry that like it is a personal attack on him.
Yes.
Not that I'm attacking the president.
But see, that's
he
interesting.
Feels wounded, and I can't understand this.
No,
and
because he's. Yeah, but wait. This is why I think he might somewhere in his head, but he can't acknowledge it.
It's humiliating.
He's humiliated, maybe. That's why the defensiveness. I mean, how could he possibly think this idiot was doing a good job? And how could an intelligent woman like you be in love with somebody who was an idiot like Lynn?
Well, I want to tell you, this man what he has done in his lifetime, created a business, raised a family. I want or need for nothing. My life has been wonderful. But these colors that have surfaced in the past couple of years, almost coming up on 4 years to be exact, is a side that I have never thought about. I mean, I've never envisioned this, but his disdain for anyone on the Democratic side, anyone.
But what about you?
Well, I guess I don't really matter. I don't know. I'll come around someday.
He loves her anyway.
But, I mean, and I said to him, I actually said to him last night, well, tell me 3 things that Trump has done that you're totally in favor of. And he said, he always goes back to, he kept his campaign promises.
Well, these are the ditto head kind of things.
To the detriment of so many. And I said, how do you justify that? And he said, show me someone on the other side that could be better, do better, is better. I mean, it's a complete and total shutdown. I mean, it is absolute. I can't even call it ignorance, because this man is educated. He reads. He has so much integrity. He's kind. He's generous. All the attributes you can imagine. And he's also good looking. It's like, I mean, I'm just.
Isn't it something? And you're not alone. There'll be books and books and books written about this. And I'm sorry.
But I think at this point you have to admit to yourself that there is no reasoning. There's some psychologic thing going on that you simply have to recognize. What's very clear is the two of you love each other. So just try and disengage and hope that in January he's able to somehow magically walk on. That we all can.
I'm hoping that in November he could make a step and go to the other side. But at this point,
no, don't do that.
There's no way.
Don't set up something that he's can't. And honestly, I would, when people talk about Trump derangement syndrome, and I'm constantly saying the chief characteristic is that the people that have it think the other people have it. I really think that this we have to start thinking about this like a cult. We really do, because people react that way. If the cult leader disappears, maybe the problem goes away.
Yeah, I think it is very cultish. It is very cultish, and it doesn't. There's just he'll say something like, "Oh, he really shouldn't say something like that," or he really. He needs to work on what it is that he presents to people for Trump. Like he needs to just work on his, ability to convey messages to the public, things like that. Like, he's rough around the edges. But it's very disheartening, and it makes me really sad.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
I don't blame you. We like to think that our significant others are perfect, but we all know that they aren't. And at least, when mine died, he suddenly became a saint, which I have to tell you is extraordinarily aggravating, because he wasn't.
May his soul rest in peace.
May his soul rest in peace.
His name be a blessed memory. I love him. The saint he wasn't. So, you're getting, we'll all remember that your husband in many ways was a saint, but he wasn't perfect.
Right.
All right. Well, that's a good note. Thank you.
I love listening to you, and Lynn, God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless you. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Aw.
It's sad.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine. I could not.
No, but that, you gotta hang on to the part where you remember how much you love each other, because that's a problem.
But you do wonder what is it?
I think this strikes a chord in. It seems to be white men of a certain age that feel their God-given power being taken away.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Unbelievable. Hang on. I do we have another caller? I'm not sure. Caller, go ahead if you're there. Huh? Hi. Hello.
There you go. Okay, this is Dave from Washington.
Hey, Dave.
The reason why smart or supposedly smart, intelligent people fall for this stuff is because propaganda works very, very well.
I guess
ask Stalin, ask Hitler, ask the marketers. It works very, very well. I consider Fox News to be the madrasa of propaganda. You get in front of it. It's like taking some 16-year-old Muslim kid, sitting him down in front and just talking to him about blowing himself up and going to Allah. And you do it long enough, and they will be more than happy to strap on that bomb and go blow up a bunch of people because they're going to Allah. And I see Fox News as being the exact same thing. They radicalize their viewers with a very focused, very singular message that they very seldom skip on or miss.
Right. They don't deviate. Right.
No,
it's
they
constant.
are very, very good at what they do. And you can take a normal person who's just, a great person, sit in front of a TV, and feed them 8 hours of Fox News and watch what happens to them. And you hear about it all the time.
Right.
You hear it's because propaganda works.
Well, so many people have said, I watched my father become someone I didn't recognize anymore.
Right, because they sat there in front of the madrasa of Fox News for too long, and they become radicalized.
Right.
And that is exactly what we have now. We've got these radicalized Trumpists. And,
that's why I say Roger Ailes, he's the evil genius. And when they write this country's history and talk of its demise, he will be one of the architects of what took us down.
And so much, back in the days, back in like the 90s when they were talking about the information superhighway and the internet and all this, and it's going to be wonderful because, this great information is going to be out there, truth and facts and all this stuff, and it should line everybody up to be truthful and honest and all this sort of stuff, and it's the exact opposite. It is just a wildfire of lies and propaganda and flat-out bullshit, and people are far more receptive to that than they are to the truth. The old thing, a rumor can go around the world in 2 hours, but it takes forever for the truth to clean it up.
No, while the truth is still putting its boots on.
Okay, yep, sure, whatever it is. Yep. You say something stupid, and that makes everybody happy, or, it appeals to a lot of people, but then when the truth comes out, they're nowhere to be found because they don't want to hear the truth.
Well, because the truth is often unpalatable, is often frightening, is often does not jive well with what you want it to be.
I think a lot of things like social media, much of the technology, a lot of the toys we have around our house, it's the exact same thing. Just because somebody makes a refrigerator that you can connect to Wi-Fi doesn't mean you got to go out and buy one. Or these Alexis things around your house that you talk to and it turns on your fucking lights. Go out and turn on your own damn lights. Why do you need a machine?
And it spies on you.
For you? Yeah, and they listen to everything you say.
Right, and then you get creepy, hackers talking to your children in the middle of the night. I mean, I don't I don't get it. And let me tell you, it creeps me out when I watch my grandchildren say, Alexa. You know,
I hate it.
I
hate
fudge
that.
to the grocery list. And I'm going, oh.
It makes you wonder how mankind evolved all the way up to the 20th century without having that technology before, when we had to get up off our asses and turn on our own damn lights. Thank goodness this Alexa came around. Now maybe we can do something like put a man on the moon. I don't know. But again, just because they make these things, it's marketing. That's what it is. It's simple to take an easy, soft head and convince it that this is what you want. Whether it's something to turn on your lights when you could do that yourself, or somebody like Trump. Marketing, propaganda, it works. They spend billions of dollars a year on this stuff because it works.
Yeah, but I'm just going to say that when you buy something because of clever marketing and you get it and you find yourself repeatedly disappointed, you eventually learn that you don't want to buy everything that is advertised. But when you get this president, when you buy this president,
you're constantly being fed that he's doing a great job. It's not like you buy something and, this doesn't work. This thing's a piece of crap. And you throw it away and you don't think about it twice. Unless somebody comes back and says, no, this isn't a piece of crap. This is awesome. Look at what it's doing for you. Look what and you're getting this constant 24-hour-a-day, 8-day-a-week thing, hitting you in the face. This is great. This is great. This is great. And a whole bunch of people around you are saying, yes, isn't this wonderful? You're one of us. Because you are a radical Trumpist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God. And then there's also the if they're against us, my enemies make me stronger because they hate me.
Yeah, whatever. I got great rant. Just want to say, great rant. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye. And speaking of great rants, excuse me, did you see this? This venture capitalist, this is like from last week, he was on a CNBC show, and they're talking to him about, how to bail out businesses and stuff. And he says, on Main Street today, people are getting wiped out. And right now, rich CEOs are not. Boards that had horrible governance records are not. Hedge funds are not. People are. Well, the CNBC his host is like incredulous. Like, what are you saying? Are you saying that people count and CEOs don't? Are you saying that we should let these large companies go down?
Fall apart?
And he says, when a company fails, it doesn't fire their employees. It goes through a package bankruptcy. If anything, what happens is the people who have the pensions inside the companies, the employees of these companies, end up owning more of the company. The people that get wiped out are the speculators that own the unsecured debt, or the folks that own the equity. And by the way, those are the rules of the game.
That's right. That's why when you buy stock, it's a risk.
Right. These are the people that purport to be the most sophisticated investors in the world. They deserve to get wiped out. The host now is apoplectic and says, well, why does anybody deserve to get wiped out from a crisis created like this? And the guy, who is a billionaire himself, says, just be clear. Like, who are we talking about? A hedge fund that serves a bunch of billionaire family offices? Who cares? Let them get wiped out. Who cares? They don't get to summer in the Hamptons. Who cares? Do you believe that? This guy's never getting invited back ever again. His name is Indian. And I don't know how to pronounce it. He's a venture capitalist. Chamath Palihapitiya, and he just said, screw these people, and they do not deserve to be bailed. And of course, they will be bailed out. Let's see.
Well, but I have to say there should be some rules to the bailout. Like, the CEO doesn't get to make $50 million.
Yeah, right.
Everybody, that we will bail you out, and in return, the relationship between the CEOs and the employees and the ratio of CEO salary to employee salary goes back to a normal number, not 1,000,000 to 1.
Yeah. Debbie says, hi, my brother is the same as your caller's husband. He won't discuss Trump. All he says is, we support the president, but never said that when Clinton or Obama was in office. I call those Trump lovers the snowflakes because they cannot defend him. He has not kept his promises. As for yesterday, I knew it was a campaign video, but the reporters at least went after him. But I, too, was yelling, shut the fuck up! I want to hear from doctors! They're going to have to tell him they can't sit there. Reporters need to stop engaging him and doing this. It is true. I don't know what in heaven's name.
Well, but it's a fine line. If there's no reporter there to shout a question that he can't answer, then he just gets 2 hours of a rally without anybody saying but.
It should not be covered.
It shouldn't be covered, yeah.
Caller, go ahead, please. Hello.
Hi, Lynn. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Hey, John from Greensburg, but not currently in Greensburg.
Right.
But, yeah, Trump has not kept his promises. He promised that he would reduce the deficit and balance the budget.
He was going to build a wall, and Mexico was going to pay for it. Remember that one?
Mexico was going to pay for right. The wall was going to be built, and Mexico it was going to be a big, beautiful wall, 30 feet high, and Mexico
was going to be perfect, by the way.
As part of a new trade agreement, he was going to revive the coal industry.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Do we? Yeah. So do we really want to go on with this? Trump kept his promises. We were going to have a replacement health care plan for the Affordable Care Act, and it was, of course, going to be better, cheaper, and more accessible for all Americans. Do we remember all that? He kept his promises in terms of cutting EPA regulations, delivering a massive tax cut heavily weighted toward the upper end of the spectrum and large corporations, and appointing right-wing judges. That's what he's kept his word on. That's all. He certainly didn't keep his personal word about revealing his tax returns, for example. He certainly didn't keep, that word.
The promise that he has kept, and I think this is the important promise, is that he has crushed women's rights, abortion, pro-life. I'm not going to say that. Pro-birth folks have made strides. And those people are very happy.
And anti-LGBTQ people. Yeah. So, the fundagelicals will absolutely support Trump or any other Republican candidate who's opposed to abortion rights or to, the rights of the LGBTQ community, which simply means they want equal rights.
I'll tell you what he's done. I'll tell you what he's done with Mitch McConnell is he has captured for decades an entire branch of our three-pronged governance system. He has
that's going to be
taken the judiciary.
Challenge. That's going to be the greatest challenge for Democrats. When and if they again hold power. But let me say that you were correct. Susan was correct. You were correct that it is simply, like I said, aside from the fundagelicals in our community, and for the what you might call the endorsers of chaos or misrule, who simply want to upend the entire system because of their anger and frustration. But they're a tiny fringe. So instead, what you have is a cohort of white men, of the Fox News demographic age, particularly in rural areas and small towns, who feel threatened by a changing world, and that's why Trump resonated with them. And your cohort didn't cover themselves with glory. I don't mean Jewish women. I mean white women, because they voted for Trump 52% to 48%.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Those are the women. Those are the women that think that they derive power from men.
Well, those are women, who derive power from their white men, and they're not willing to give that up either. No, let's hear it for black women.
Yeah,
that's the powerful demographic.
The gay people, the Jewish people, the non-Christians, the non-heterosexuals. I mean.
Well, we're gonna listen.
We fringe folks.
What the hell? It's just beyond belief. Hey, John, thank you. Appreciate the call.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. My understanding is that the Department of Homeland Security has recently classified farm workers as, quote, essential and critical.
Well, you kicked them all out.
No, well, most of them are undocumented. As a matter of fact, about, according to our own agriculture department, 50% of all farm workers in the United States are undocumented immigrants.
So the whole industry depends on it, for heaven's sake.
And right, but the people who own the farms and the ranches will tell you that number's low. Probably closer to 75% of the people who harvest our vegetables, who get our food on the table, are illegal, undocumented, and now they have been told they are essential and critical.
Uh-huh.
Well, now, how is it possible?
That's way too little and it's way too late. It's not possible. But meanwhile, already farmers in Wisconsin are dumping milk, dumping cheese. They are plowing food under.
Well, they are all over the country. All over the world.
Right.
Holland,
what are we going to eat in 2 weeks?
I don't know. And you see these lines of people waiting for food, and then we see the farmers having to plow under because there's no way to get from here to there. We have no structure in place. It really is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
Well, Trump kept his promise. He took away the farm laborers, and now here we are. I mean, add in a few little surprises, which, by the way, is the nature of the job. There is no president that gets by without a surprise, and you are marked by how you handle these surprises. Isn't that the way it goes? Mm-hmm. That your legacy is not written by the calm moments, but by the moments of terror and indecision, and here's what we get. We get Trump.
Well, I remember, and I've said this before on the show, but I'm going to repeat it because it's something that just comes at me more than once every day. This country has been so damn lucky because in our times of greatest crisis, somehow or other, we have been blessed with extraordinary leadership. Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War, the Founding Fathers during the Revolutionary War, and George Washington as the first president, FDR during the Depression and World War II. And you know what?
It's not to say they were perfect, but
they led. They were leaders. And we now, our luck clearly ran out. We aren't this time we have a crisis, extraordinary crisis, and we have, as our so-called leader, a fatuous, incompetent, mentally ill fool. And people will die. People are dying because of it. And it could well be that our democracy will die because of it. Institutions are dying because of it. Incredible. We have a call. Caller, go ahead, please.
Yes. Good morning, Lynn.
Hi.
Hey, Lynn, I got some more good news for you.
Yeah.
All the pigs have got coronavirus now, and the largest pig producers in the country, the 5% they're all in one big farm, and now the one big farm has coronavirus.
I don't think the pigs have it. The workers do.
No, the pigs do themselves. It's going to the pigs now. So it's going to totally. You have to kill all the pigs that have the coronavirus because they're all packed together. You got a crisis to happen.
The way we inhumanely farm animals is. Yeah. I just. This is exposing so much.
Yeah, it's right. Everything's coming off. All the hinges are coming off the doors and the windows. You worked on a pig farm, right, Lynn?
I lived on one. Yes.
Yeah, you lived on one. It was a natural, wasn't it?
It was a totally natural one. Yeah, it was an old-fashioned pig farm, but they came and got those little piglets with incredible regularity and took them down the highway to the Oscar Mayer plant in Madison.
Oh, so that was like a little farm for them, or was
they sold
their buyer. Yeah.
That was their buyer, and
so they sold to them, and then so they weren't actually processing them themselves. They were just more or less a grower.
No. They're poor little pigs.
That was their crop. The pigs were their crop.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's going to happen. Here's the good thing about this, though, guys. I mean, you have to think of the end game. The end game, it's going to go back to the way it was when you had the pig farm, where there's going to be small farmers, because everything is going to explode. We're going to realize you can't put all the eggs in one basket, because if the egg cracks, we're all screwed.
I think we're seeing and we're seeing in terms of supply.
Supply chain management.
Supply chain. We cannot. Apparently, we're in real trouble now in terms of drug availability of a lot of drugs. We don't manufacture tons of that stuff. We don't manufacture much of anything.
No,
and
so we're stuck with our pants down. We have nothing. We can't, and you can't say build it because there's nobody to build it. Like we sold all the plants, all the machinery to China, so then you say, well, go build it. Well, where? There's no plants. It takes time to build a plant up and get people and hire them, and then so you.
Well, but I'm going to argue it doesn't take that much time. If we can throw up a hospital in 3 days.
Exactly. Well, we're going to have to. That's what I'm saying.
We're going to have to move our pharmaceuticals back here.
Everything's going to have to come back here. Your farming's going to have to come back here because you're going to realize you can't depend on when you have to outsource everything, and you can't get your food. You're going to be screwed. You're going to have to now. Who's the essential workers? Not the CEOs. Now who's essential workers? The people who actually give us our food. The people who are nurses. The people who are making pizza. That's essential. See, we got our mixed up in this country. We thought essential was working in the office, having a summer home, and having a good life. That we thought that was essential. Essential. That's not essential. That's living like a pig. Essential is going to work, making the coffee, giving the pizza, giving the service to the nurse, doing all these, quote unquote, picking the fruit. That's essential. Not essential having a person making $6 million income and having secretaries and all kinds of stuff.
Well, you're arguing what the expert on CNN was arguing.
Right.
Or CNBC was arguing that, no one cares if a hedge fund goes away.
No one cares. What do they produce? Nothing. And we're finding out that the essential workers, invariably, you want to know what an essential worker is? Look for the person who's making shit wages.
The lowest guy on the totem pole is the essential worker.
Always.
Exactly. That's my point. And we're finally starting to see it. So everybody's going to wake up now. It's like when this comes over.
I don't know that everyone's going to wake up.
Well, you're going to wake up eventually. Hopefully.
Well, I'm sure at looking at teenage groceries clerks differently, they're going into work every day and they're risking their lives.
I know. I mean,
and half of them don't have masks, and they're working for big corporate.
That's
we all know.
Sickening. It's
all right.
I mean, that's why I say please. It's
okay.
It's going to be better when this gets through. That's all I'm going to tell you. We're seeing all the torture right now.
We're one day closer to the end, that's for sure.
And one day, trust the Trump being done, and Humpty Dumpty will fall off the wall, and that'll be it. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank God.
Bye. The Allegheny County has released, it does every day at 11, its latest totals. And as we know, these are so low because... do you know anyone who's been tested? I'm just asking. No, me either.
Nope.
Okay, so 800.
I do. Our cousin was tested.
Okay. 893 positive cases. These are ones that tested positive. 142 hospitalizations and 24 deaths. All deaths in Allegheny County have been 65 or older. So that's where we stand now. And unlike in some of the bigger cities, the racial divide is not happening here, at least yet. I think the number of African Americans who have died constitutes something like 17% of the deaths. Which is just slightly elevated from what their percentage is in the population. Allison writes, I'm so glad you brought up food dumping. I watched the Today Show yesterday. They had a story of the food banks not able to keep up with demand and the lines of cars waiting for 3 days worth of food. 2 stories came, the farmers dumping milk, plowing under their crops, and I was ready to cry. I was dumbfounded that there was no way to get this food to those who are in such need. It just blew my mind. Now, it could be if we had real leadership at the national level, there would be a way, but we don't. I mean, if farmers are willing to dump the stuff or plow it under, then they surely wouldn't mind people then they would give it away, right?
One would think, or one would think that within communities you could organize to at least figure out how to get people to get to the food, even if you're going to pay for it. Just get rid of the middleman. That can go out at very low prices and go straight to the food banks, but somebody has to organize it. I was actually just sitting here with my mind ticking. There are farm cooperative, things that exist that, maybe we should be desperately searching for a way to get this food to the places that we know need it, and they need it now.
Leadership. That's what we need. Hey, guys, I think that's it for today's program. Did I say program?
You did. It is a program.
It's a program. And Susan, thank you. You got the best line, and we want to end on the Lance Boyle and the rancid. And that's courtesy
They're
also
going to be
Dave.
Playing at the inaugural.
Yeah, Lance Boyle and the rancid Zits, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Thank you. A lot of people have said they enjoyed today's show. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome. I love you, and I'm glad you're feeling better.
Oh, God, me too. That was a scary little
that was everybody tells me the week after that they've been sick. Anyway, okay, goodbye. Stay well, everybody.
Yes.
Really, stay well. And today is a good day. Let's take heart and double down in our efforts to protect our votes.
Indeed.
And
that's
November's
the biggest,
coming soon.
The most important thing we have to
plan how you're going to vote. I want you all to figure out how you can guarantee your vote and then take steps to get it done.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. And thank you all, and I'll be back in 23 hours, okay? Bye-bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.